Hello, everybody, and welcome on into the starting nine. Martino, Puccio, Mike Phillips, alongside all of you for a trade deadline reaction episode. 22 minutes past the deadline, Mike, and this one got a little wild, a little late into the window. Obviously, the Mets big time sellers. The Yankees didn't do as much as we would expect, and then the Dodgers pretty much dominated the headlines for this. So, your initial reaction to this deadline before we get into most of the ball clubs here?
Yeah, a lot of fun with deadline. I feel like considering it was a seller's market and there were not many clear sellers aside from like a handful of teams. A lot of guys got moved. We done some fun buyer to buyer trades where teams are trying to trade with each other, try and solve holes and surpluses. We see some crazy head scratching move. We see some overpays. It's what you want in a deadline.
Yeah, definitely. The funny thing about the sellers market point is that I feel like people are misconstruing it a little bit in the sense of there's been a lot more sellers than buyers, but the return for the sellers is very low. So I guess you can really call it that. A little bit more of a buyer's market. Only what would you say? Really, three huge moves in terms of names had happened today. The others are a bunch of role players, I guess you could say, utility stars that might end up making names for themselves in October. So we'll get right to the sellers first.
Yep.
The Mets were in sell mode. One could argue they were in sell mode the second they had a 12-game losing streak, and Lindor went down to injuries, and especially after the latest Juan Soto injury, that was it. The Mets were done. They offload pretty much everyone but Luis Robert Jr. Your initial reactions to these, we slowly saw them chip away. You were very happy about that in terms of your workload today. But as far as your returns go, I mean, the second we saw the Skubal trade, I think everyone's anticipation that I think understands Major League Baseball was like, they're probably not going to be getting a lot as opposed to what happened last year, where everybody likes to toss out, the comparisons with Rogers and Helsley and all these other players that they traded for that the returns aren't the same. I'd just like to remind everybody yesterday's price is not today's price. And for this trade deadline, the prices were not great for the Mets.
Yeah. I give them a B- deadline. I mean, the
Okay.
rentals, I feel like they did what you were expecting to do from most of these guys because a lot of people seem to have this misconception the Mets have like all these amazing pieces to trade. And I mean, okay, Freddie Peralta had a down year. He was not good, and he was a free agent. They got three guys from Tampa in their top 30. The Tampa was a good one to be pulling from because they seem to do a good job with their players. Brooks Raley, AJ Minter, I don't know what you're expecting from them because like they are rentals, they are lefties, and they're non closing relievers who are rentals or a dime a dozen. You can go find
In their 30s, by the way.
yeah. Huascar Brazaban, who they got two guys for 3 years of control, but he's 37 in October. I don't know what you're exactly expecting from him. The deadline for them really comes down to the Luke Weaver trade and the Tyrone Taylor Clay Holmes combo player Chicago. Luke Weaver trade underwhelming because yes, Sammy Safar is an instant prospect. He's a local kid, Met fan, like went to high school 10 minutes down the road from where I grew up. So like obviously vested interest in the kid. But if you're trying to win in 27, Luke Weaver is worth more than that, especially when you consider you paid money down to get this kid back.
Right.
The Holmes Taylor trade is an A plus for the Mets. Like they pulled the top 100 kid from the Cubs. It could be a third base as soon as the end of next year, Jefferson Rojas. So I think all in all, I think a B- feels about right for what they did.
Yeah, so let's start with the big ones. The Clay Holmes, Tyrone Taylor situation, I think that's a win-win for both teams. When you look at the Cubs, having a great defense and getting someone in like Clay Holmes, I think either Milwaukee or them would be thriving off of that situation because he's a ground ball pitcher. And you're not necessarily trading for an ace, but they could make him look a lot more valuable with good infield defense, something that the Mets were lacking this year. And the return, as you mentioned, listen, they're expiring deals. We all know this is likely a Tyrone Taylor purple patch, even though he's like completely outdone everything he did in 2025 in 2 weeks in 2026, right?
Yep.
Because he was pretty awful at the plate last year. I think about it, the Mets make the playoffs if he has any sort of stretch like this last season, most likely. They made out there to your point, Jefferson Rojas. Like, what do you even like would want as a return? Holmes is going to be declining that option. Taylor's a fourth outfielder, fifth outfielder choice at best. So to get a top 100 prospect in that regard was huge. And then we go over to the Luke Weaver trade. Considering, Mike, that they are also paying money towards this
Yeah.
changes a lot of things in regards to this. I believe $6 million next year is going towards the Pittsburgh Pirates. Listen, local kid, great. You're happy about the story. Not the only Westchester kid acquired this trade deadline by the Mets. It feels like it at the very least, because not only are you paying money, the extra year that you have with Luke Weaver, who's been one of the best relievers in baseball, at worst a setup man, right?
Yeah.
Just the one guy. What do you think about that? And he's also had a very hot stretch. If you look at some of his numbers, I believe he has 14 home runs in 18 games in July.
He's on a massive heater right now at high A. So like that's something to keep in mind here. I think the way I say the Luke Weaver thing, I think there's two different ways of looking at it. I think this is the way David Stearns looks at it is, hey, relievers are volatile. He's great right now. Might not be great next year. I can get a kid in here who I like, I can develop, and might be an impact player for this team in 3 years. I'm going to do it. The way I look at it, and I think the way most fans look at it, is like, if we're trying to win in 2027 with Juan Soto in his prime, Lindor getting towards the end of his prime, having Luke Weaver here is more important than having a kid in single A who could be good in 3 years when Lindor will be out of his prime, Soto will be getting closer to the end of his. I think that's where the disconnect is for me with this package here, because I feel like they did not put enough value on what Luke Weaver can do for the 2027 Mets with this return.
I agree, and it was back to our conversation as well that we had on how he views relievers and them being fickle, volatile, pretty much all the time. Luke Weaver's had success, and then he's had down periods this year, massive success. So it seemed as if those injury issues last year with the Yankees were rushed. We'll see how he does in Pittsburgh. But for me also, I need another lotto ticket in return if I'm the Mets. If I'm giving the Pittsburgh Pirates $6 million, more than half of his contract in 2027, and an additional $2 million this year, it has to be more than just one player. That's just me. I think you need to be a little bit more aggressive. There is some leverage here with one of the best relievers on the market. The Pittsburgh Pirates are a franchise that is struggling to make the playoffs for the first time in God knows how many years, right? I think it would be over a decade at this point.
2015 is the last time.
Okay. So what are we doing here with that return? That's where I kind of looked at it and said, okay, I have an initial, like, maybe gut reaction is just like, this was horrible. This return stunk. Maybe he's good. I don't know about that, but to your point, that's 3 years from now. The Mets bullpen as of next year, how much are you putting into stock of, like, and this is rhetorical, of like guys like Ryan Lambert, Dylan Ross trying to come up next season? Like, where do you move in free agency? What if there is a tighter CBA and salary, right? And then what is your flexibility at those options at the relief position? That's where I start to get worried. Ultimately, the Mets bullpen is drained. Now, at this point in time, I don't think that they have anyone good left in there.
Get your arm loose. You gotta be coming on over there to relieve after this.
I mean, how could we expect this after dominating the Pirates on opening day? Maybe O'Neill Cruz's terrible errors were meaning nothing. So then we go to the other rental moves. Mike Minter basically moved for lotto tickets. Brooks Raley moved to a divisional rival.
Hey, they got Benny Abbagnani's kid back. They got Bruin in the system now.
Listen, I think this is all a lot better than that one time we gave the Athletics, whoever we get, was it Jairus Familia? We gave Familia away to the Athletics for one of Jeff Wilpon's son's college friends. I believe he was a catcher.
That was part of that infamous 2017 deadline. The Mets only traded for like relievers.
Incredible, wasn't it? We got 2 kids from Westchester. They're pulling on the emotional strings here. Listen, I'm not really upset at these trades with the Raley. It's a great get for Philly. That's probably what just upsets me, because the Phillies got a lot better with that move. Tampa, where do you stand with the Tampa Bay Rays trade here? Because I know people in the Freddie Peralta situation here is, we had no leverage. We knew this. The Rays think that they can fix them. The likelihood of it is probably strong, but the return, 3 guys within their top 30. People are always like, don't trade with the Rays. Don't trade with the Rays. The Mets haven't had the worst luck in the world. I know Jose Siri is probably going to be the headline for this kind of stuff, but do you think it's the worst return in the world for Freddie Peralta?
No. I mean, considering what he's done this year, and like, I mean, apart from like Clay Holmes, I mean, like, what rental pitcher got you something very valuable this year? It was just not. I'm actually sorry from Skubal. Sorry, take him out of the equation. Clay Holmes probably the best rental pitcher acquisition you got here. The Padres gave away 2 guys for Rob. You're gonna talk about him later, and like
Right.
that's something where the Padres system stinks. So like these guys are not really studs compared to like what you could get here. Tampa system is very deep, pulling 3 guys from it here, and the Mets have dipped into their arsenal a little bit the past few years to get piece of the deadlines 24 and 25, and then the farm system taking a dip here. I think they added, 9 guys at least today to their top 30 prospects on the last like week or two, maybe 10. So like that's something you like is like you're building your depth back up with these rentals, what you should be doing here. And like getting multiple guys here. It seems like the Mets seem to focus on guys who have interesting traits or like skills that they can try and hone a little bit. Like Why says, oh, like this guy has a very good fastball. Like this guy is like very fast. Like one of the athletes they got from Philly, Psycher Man, basically is a little Matt Den Decker clone. For those of you Met fans who live long enough here, I mean, like these are guys who can if you develop them correctly, you can use them to either fill holes in your depth on the big level or trade them away to get other things later on. So I think that's fine.
Yeah, I agree with that point too. And this Mets system, it's a culmination of the trades from last year, graduates for this year, and many on the horizon. I think this time next year you'll see even more Mets players called up. You could see a Mitch Voigt go in this decision, and you could see Marcus Semien being cut around that deadline or something like that. I wouldn't put it past them. Listen, the farm did need something, and to your point, you can trade those guys down the line. Obviously, the draft helps reinvigorate that system. All in all, you lose 12 straight games, you do terrible. I believe they're 19 games under 500 now, a season
Yep.
worst. There's no salvaging that. Yeah, I mean you can in ways of trying to help your system, but everybody knows you're the biggest losers in Major League Baseball this year, and that doesn't help you when you're picking up the phone to try and deal some of these guys. And it's not to have any sympathy towards David Stearns. He put the Mets in this situation. This is on him. But a B minus is where you grade this deadline.
Yeah, I go more B minus. I think that the Weaver thing bothers me more. It's not, again, nothing against Sammy Stafora, who I think is an interesting prospect. I think is a guy who could be on the fringe of a top 100 list next year. Like if he keeps breaking out like this when the breakout sustains. The process is bad. Where this is to your point, not only are you trading away a guy who's not going to help you next year, you're paying Pittsburgh to take him off your hands to get that guy. Which to me, like if you're doing that, you need more pieces back or something that's closer to big league ready than a kid who's in A ball.
Yeah, I mean, that philosophy was a part of the 2023 trade deadline where Steve Cohen was publicly backing that. Well, if you look at how much prospects are worth and what we're paying financially, where did that go? I know it's a different Pobo, but I really struggle to kind of find that sort of consistency. However, what I will say and what I will continue to say is the only good thing about the Mets and the way they're being ran at this current moment in time is their farm system and player development. If there is any semblance of hope or looking forward to in the future, it's sort of that. We'll see some fun arms come up in the second half of this year. We'll see where Jonah Tong, the Lamberts, the Rosses of the world end up. We'll likely to see Nick Morabito come back. Final thoughts really quick on Luis Roberts staying. What do you think the direction of the Mets will be with him? I believe it's a team option come this winter again, if
Correct.
they choose to do so. I'm not actually familiar exactly with when they have to make that decision as it relates to the CBA negotiations, if they have to do that before or after.
It's before, because all those things
Okay.
it's got to be like, oh, you got before like free agency starts, you got to decide if you want him or not. I think it's a $2 million buyout, $20 million team option here. And considering, Juan Soto's calf issues this year, considering
Right.
you may not have a Nick Morabito ready, like you get a look now, you may not prove be ready to be a fourth outfit here. Considering what's here, I would not be shocked that option gets picked up and he's here next year to give themselves more options, because this is things we talked about before. You don't want to do it. AJ Ewing can play second base if you feel like getting Robert and Soto on the outfield at the same time. You can DH Juan Soto a little bit. If you're looking for guys who can help you next year, that's not a bad shout to do that.
The 20 million price tag will scare people off. And again, wouldn't put it past the Mets, even if they try to package him in a trade, if someone wants to take that gamble and they just offer anywhere between, I don't know, half the money that he is owed. Like I wouldn't be shocked if they fork over some money if it's in regards to him getting traded. We'll see what ends up happening, but I think their hunch is right about him staying. Any other final Mets notes or comments on your thoughts on their deadline?
I mean, not really. I mean, David Stearns is going into the podium now as we're recording. We're gonna keep an eye out, see if he says anything of interest here. But like, it will be fascinating to see. Like, if you think about it here, basically they traded away. I think Taylor's own position player. They moved here. They traded 8 pitchers, counting David Peterson back today, who are in their opening day plans. It tells you like how crazy like it is that like basically they took half the team apart in the span of a month, and you can understand why.
And most of it were the good pieces in the bullpen. The only thing that played well this year for the 2026 Mets. Heading over to the Bronx, the Yankees trade deadline can be defined as underwhelming.
Yes.
The Yankees didn't get their backup catcher, is the way it was being reported. They didn't get another.
Probably needed more than a backup catcher. It's way Austin Wells is
of course, but that was, I believe, what Joel Sherman was saying. Yeah. No other bat or right-handed bat is what the other report was. Theories get floated immediately about this and why Cashman didn't do anything or why he didn't try and move certain pieces.
Yes.
I'm very surprised and not offloading one of these bats. One could assume bigger moves this offseason. How much do you think this has to do with Aaron Judge's overall health and where he will be? One would think if they were more confident on Aaron's health, they likely buy more at this deadline and take bigger risks. I fall in line with that theory. And also, does Cashman just not think they're that good or worth trading away certain pieces where he could just reevaluate come winter because they have all this great pitching? Again, Judge goes down, even Bellinger hurt as well. They have a lot of holes in that lineup. The bullpen is still shaky. Can I fix that this deadline? And is it worth overpaying for certain players to do so? Where do you kind of fall in line with this Yankees trade deadline? Knowing the average Yankee fan, they're very pissed off. And I get it because of the window, the pitching staff that they have this year. But me thinks Aaron Judge is not healthy, and he's not going to be healthy come this postseason. And I've thought that all along.
Yeah, clearly, I think they believe that they are not getting impact Aaron Judge back, or I think they're getting. I don't think they're lying when they say he's coming back at some point. I just think they know. They know that this is not going to be the 60 homer Aaron Judge who's carrying us the regular season. It might be like 80% version of Aaron Judge, and that's not worth investing heavily in here. I do think like them getting Luis Garcia helps obviously because he's having a great year for Washington. The fit's not ideal defensively, but like when you have that many holes in your lineup, you just take guys who can hit, and he certainly fits that bill. Heliot Ramos is the other ad they made, which is interesting as a righty platoon bat, and he's upgraded Max Schumann Shore. You have 2 interesting processes to get him because Cashin loves his team control. He has Garcia for another year. He has Ramos through 2030. But you look at some of these things, like you're telling me you couldn't go add a reliever of some kind? Like the Phillies gave the Mets like their 27th ranked prospect in the top 30 and another guy who was not on the list for Brooks Raley. You tell the Yankees going to come up with something like that for any of the married relievers who moved today? You're telling me Tyler Stevenson was too expensive to go get to give you an option behind the plate to pair with Austin Wells? Like Ali Sanchez, we watched him the other day make a horrendous decision behind the plate against the White Sox, cost the Yankees a game here. Like that spot is just such a black hole. And to come out of the deadline with nothing at that position, I get you're not overpaying for Rutschman like the Red Sox did or Liam Hicks like the Rays did. But like walking away with nothing at a position you have a major issue at, it's a big, big red flag.
Yeah, it's Cashman kind of puts himself in these situations all the time too. Lack of being able to move some of these guys as well. I think there is a lot of truth to what you're saying about him being aggressive enough. The funny thing is, we talk about this all the time in our chat and how we're going to overvalue the Yankees players and their farm and all. Those days are long gone in baseball. Internally, these other organizations know the Yankees players that they're developing aren't that great, and they're willing to take on a bunch of them in certain trades. Obviously, like with the Soto trade, for instance, a lot of these guys just don't turn out. Where are you going with Spencer Jones? He's shown flashes at least, but the Jazz Chisholms of the world, the Anthony Volpes of the world, Trent Grisham, Ryan McMahon, Jason Dominguez, all those guys How enticing are these players to other teams? Where
They're
would people want to be buying these players to add? And the Yankees getting something back that is so obviously doable. I just for the Yankees, it's you need a star and you're not willing to part with certain players for that star, or no other franchise wants your players at this point. Like Anthony Volpe to other teams has to be viewed as ultimate damaged goods.
yeah.
Maybe some team tries to buy when he's cheaper come this offseason because the price will certainly go down. I just the need and want for some of these Yankees players as well, I don't think is, reflective of what the fan base thinks. Like, oh, these are valuable players. Look at Jazz. He's got some of these numbers, some of this. Come on, like they're solid players, but they're nothing special. If they were that good, then the Yankees wouldn't have to be looking at the deadline, right?
Yeah, they would not. And I will also say here, I do think their farm system it's very top heavy in a way like
Right.
the 2022 Met farm system was, in a way where like they don't have, they have top guys people like. And I know Brian Cash basically hinted in his press conference just now that like the Yankees were not getting anywhere near school without giving up George Lombard. And they were not going to do
Right.
that for 2 months of Tarek Skubal.
Right.
It's like when you don't have the guys behind that top group that people want, it's very hard to get deals done at a deadline. And we saw like the Mets get 3 guys in Tampa's top 30 for Freddie Peralta. Those guys might be like top 10 guys in the Yankee farm system. It's very thin beyond its top like 4 or 5 guys. Like that's an issue, and that's going to keep you from getting some of these guys. And their strategy seems to be, okay, well, let's get guys healthy. Bullpen, we have so many starters. We'll just, put Clark Schmidt back there when he's healthy. We'll put Warren in there. We put Ryan Weathers in there. But banking on health is not a strategy with this team. We've seen these guys get hurt way too often, especially the pitchers and the outfield right now. Just hoping everybody's healthy is not a strategy. You could have done something. And the fact they did nothing other than 2 bats, and I'll give them a decent grade. I'll give them a C- because Luis Garcia might be the best batter who got moved at the deadline. They got him. I think you have to give them credit for. They had too many holes, and they ignored some glaring ones, which is not a good way to be operating in this American League.
Same old for the Yankees. I just this is all Cashman's fault. This is terrible roster construction to put yourself in this position. The catchers being so badly unwanted by other teams too. Like they couldn't even get Ryan Jeffers. They couldn't do it. And I know the Twins didn't really end up becoming sellers.
Like Tyler Stevenson is sitting there on a bad Reds team. You couldn't pull him off that team.
This is a lot about this team and the Yankees. And and the funny thing is the Yankees could still make an impact come October. I wouldn't put it past them considering their pitching. There is nothing here that screams to the fan base that we're committed to is punting another year, right? Because this is essentially what they're doing. They're saying, we're fine as we are. We're going to go ahead into the postseason. If Judge and Belly are healthy, then that's a plus. Belly's going to be back, mid-September almost? And then you're looking at Aaron Judge. This is the funny thing. They don't play guys when they're 100%. This is a trend in this Cashman Boone era. So, for instance, if Judge comes back, Mike, how much are you convinced that this guy's 100% this year?
I'm not convinced at all. I would need to see.
Right, you don't believe them. That's crazy.
He played hurt for a month. We saw what he looked like playing hurt for a month here.
And then Volpe.
And Volpe last year. We saw Rizzo with a concussion a couple of years ago. They have a terrible track record with injuries. It just gets swept under the rug because of the Yankees.
It's a PR thing. So this was the team across town, and rightfully so. Everyone rips them when they get the opportunity. They would be chomping at the bit for this. The Yankee season and core hinges on health, and it's been doing that for quite some time. All I'm saying is, even if you get Judge back at 80%, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather try and go in with an Aaron Judge at 80%, who's still better than a lot of Major League Baseball players, as opposed to just saying, we're punting another year? Then what? Aaron Judge is not getting younger. That's the thing. If you're a 28-year-old Aaron Judge, then I might give the Yankees some leeway here. How many of these guys do we walk and talk through when reading off this roster that are over the age of 30? And it's like the Yankees window is now. And I don't think it was met with the urgency that it deserved, because this is a good enough team. If you get a couple of good pieces, you can win the pennant. You're not asking for a lot, to your point. Tyler Stevenson is a clear upgrade at your position. because your farm is top heavy? I don't understand. You're the Yankees. You have so many resources. Arguably, if done correctly, have the most resources in baseball outside of what the Dodgers are able to do, right? Like, so I just fail to understand the logic with Cashman here. I'm sure he'll come out with some conversation of when we get Bellinger and Judge back, it'll be like getting additions at the trade deadline, all that bullshit that I'm sure plenty of Yankees fans are just tired of at this point. So do you have any other further comments, or you want to give the Yankees your grade for this deadline?
I think it's a C-. I think it is because I think Garcia saves them from basically having a failing grade, because Garcia is mashing so much that you figure out where to play him in this lineup, which, I mean, we've seen some of the lines they're running out lately. They're very bad and they're winning because their pitching is so good. It just feels like a waste, especially in this American League where there's no great team. And you saw your two biggest threats in the division upgrade around you. And you basically took a marginal step forward where these two took big leaps forward here. So, like, I think there's a good chance. There's a chance here that, like, if they do not get these healthy returns from guys like Judge and Bellinger, I'm not even going to talk about Stan because Boone doesn't want us to talk about him. So we're not going to do that today. But I think there's a chance, Boston could catch and pass them for the top wildcard spot.
We knew it all along. I'm giving the Yankees a C- as well. Heliot Ramos, fine utility player, I guess. I mean, Garcia, what if Garcia just ends up not even coming close to what he's had a tremendous season, not trying to downplay anything, but the track record really there for it. I don't know to give them a better grade.
That's a Washington sell high, because Washington seems to have this mindset that, like, hey, we figured out the book on offense. We can just get rid of guys, and we have enough people who can fill in to fix this here. They traded for 4 relievers in the Yankees, essentially, with Cruz and Berg and the 2 prospects who are like 1 relief prospect, 1 starting prospect. So, like, they just kind of bought and sold there. So, like, I like that deal from both sides. I think it fits their needs nicely, but, like, there is, a risk here that the Yankees try to tweak Garcia on what he's doing. They could mess him up.
You never know at this point in time. Speaking of the Yankees, or, well, the new Yankees, the Dodgers got Turk Skubal. I audibly laughed again, very much like the Kyle Tucker signing, Mike. I was like, I texted our group. I'm like, Dodgers did it, LOL. And you were just like, question mark? And I was like, Skubal. They did it. They got Tarek Skubal.
To be fair to you, I was in Spider-Man when you sent that message. My do not disturb came off, and I get that message from you.
Well, good to know. I violate your do not disturb protocol there. Listen, here's what I'll say, and it's the larger conversation. Forget about the trade for a second. This is about Major League Baseball. This is about all other 29 teams in Major League Baseball trying to compete with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So a juggernaut that we haven't seen since the Yankees of 25 years ago. This is on your franchise. This is on your ownership for not beating this team for that offer. I'm sorry. Like, if we're talking about the Tampa Bay Rays and the Milwaukee Brewers, who we'll talk about the Brewers because I think they're on my list for biggest losers of this deadline, in my opinion. I'll explain that later. The Rays at least went in for Freddie Peralta, right, Mike? Like, at least that's something there. Tarek Skubal is one of the best pitchers in the game today, a back-to-back Cy Young Award winner. Yes, he's had the bone spurs. Yes, he's had some poor run of form as of late. However, this is the best pitcher on the market. It's the guy on the market. And the Dodgers said to themselves, once again, we are going in and trying to win. And this, again, to many people's point, is not an offseason target like Kyle Tucker, where they do set an AAV record to bring him in on a short-term deal. This was an offer that could have been beaten by many major league franchises. And this is another thing that you and I talked about, that I think that, the Tigers should have ended up, and look at the package that they end up getting here, because the Dodgers robbed them. I'm sorry. I don't really care what these players will be in Detroit unless they get to Tarek Skubal's level. This was a robbery by the Dodgers. And if they just even get Skubal to stay healthy, which I think he will, there's an opportunity that they re-sign him in this offseason. It's a whole other thing. But this is about everyone else being chumps. That's just what it is. And I don't want to hear about baseball being broken because of this trade. If you want to talk about it with Kyle Tucker, with the Ohtani contract, we could have that conversation. I'm not doing it when Skubal goes for pennies on the dollar. I just can't. And everyone else bitching and moaning about this, you're the reason why Major League Baseball is in this situation, because you consistently misread what going for it means and what ruining it means. The Dodgers went for it here. They didn't ruin anything. The only thing that the teams did that ruined baseball was the Brewers not having the balls to go forward with it. The CC Sabathia trade in Milwaukee Brewers history, Mike, is probably their greatest ever in-season trade. I can't imagine they've had a better one. Because they've never won a World Series. They've only been to one, and that was over 4 decades ago. So I would love to know how, not going in for a pitcher like that, I'm looking at them. I am looking at some other teams competing, Tampa specifically. You could argue maybe some other AL teams, but there's always a premium there. But my God, there aren't a bigger sad sack of shit losers than the rest of Major League Baseball right now, because they allowed a dynasty to go out and get a top 5 pitcher in the game for nothing. And so that's on them.
Yeah, 100% is here. And specifically on Milwaukee's front here, like we've talked about in the past, like if not, like, and you said this last week with the Theo Epstein quote with the Cubs, if not now, when? Like, and at some point here, like the Dodgers, I mean, yes, they do get an assist from certain national writers who glaze the hell out of their prospects, and to the point where we're being told that a 27-year-old pitcher who's got like 6 big league starts in AAA is a haul for Tarek Skubal. Please, guys, come on. Like, that's a joke. Like, that you're 27 years old. I don't care how late you convert to pitching. Like, you're not getting enough prime value for Tarek Skubal if you're doing that. Like, if you got Emmett Sheehan in that trade, maybe you're getting a little closer because at least the guy's at the big leagues and established. But this is not even close to fair value here. But this is Milwaukee and Tampa to a lesser degree, and teams of that ilk who just look at the situation and just scared to put their chips on the table, because if they're wrong, they think it sets them back for years. Guys, flags fly forever. You made your job infinitely harder on yourself, because now you have to go beat Tarek Skubal and everyone else on the Dodgers. Also having him on your side. It was 2 months. If he's probably going to the Dodgers in the offseason, why are you making it so easy for them to, beat you again? This is a team that, as a guy that could have been had. The Brewers and the Rays are 2 of the best forces in the sport. And they could absorb, giving up talent to go get this guy for 2 months to give you the best chance to beat the Dodgers and win a World Series. And for all you losers out there who are saying, this won't happen with the salary cap, the Dodgers are brilliant at scouting. They take other teams' prospects they don't want and make them good and then trade them off for better stuff. That advantage does not go away with the salary cap. Right. That they're going to be good regardless whether there's a cap or not, because their player development apparatus is elite. You guys with the elite player development apparatuses like Milwaukee and Tampa, you cannot be scared shitless to actually try once in a while. Like, this is a window, especially a year where the league is this week in the American League, and the Brewers know that basically the Dodgers separating us from a title. Go do it. Go have some balls and go try and win once.
3 straight titles is really difficult, and none of these teams seem to grasp that. And then the other part too, by the way,
in case you forgot, by the way, this Dodgers team lost in the playoffs in 22 to the Diamondbacks. They lost in 23 in the playoffs, I believe. This was 20. One was the years of Diamondbacks. One of the years was San Diego. San Diego beat them again in 24.
I think San Diego was 22 because then they lost to Philly. Philly went to the World Series that year.
Arizona beat them in 23 in the first round.
Correct. Yep.
24, they were pitching a bullpen game in Game 4, down 2-1, and should have lost that series. Last year, they were down in Game 7 of the World Series. They're not unbeatable, guys. You need to actually put the effort in here to try.
And they're older, and they're not as good. Their pitching has holes. And unironically, their big ticket free agent signings are the detriment to their staff this year. It's the Robleskis and the Sheehans that are coming through. And now they're going to get in a Cy Young candidate for the past couple of years in for pennies on the dollar. And to your point, that has nothing to do with salary. That has to do with everything and how they're operating. I mean, even some of their bigger breakout players this season right in the field, Dalton Rushing, Andy Pages. Pages cooled off a bit. But the point remaining is they are developing those guys. So I'm really sick and tired of trying to blame the Dodgers for all these problems in the world. The only thing I really despise about the Dodgers is their bullshit taken on the revenue for the TV deals and that bullshit Shohei Ohtani contract. The rest, I say, blame Major League Baseball. Why is Freddie Freeman on the Dodgers? Forget about Freeman's agent. The Atlanta Braves wouldn't bother to pay their Hall of Fame first baseman. Okay? Yeah. Boston Red Sox didn't want to pay a Hall of Fame outfielder Mookie Betts. What are we doing here? Who didn't want to pay Blake Snell? All of Major League Baseball, essentially. Glasnow, same thing. The Yamamoto side of things is different. But people were gifting the Dodgers these players too. So make no mistake about it. The Dodgers are great. They spend a lot of money, but they're a lot smarter than you think. And for nobody to kind of pick up on this in the market, maybe to an extent, the medicals might be worse because of the Skubal scope. Maybe we don't know. But I will tell you this, we don't know for sure, and that means you should be risking something. And those franchises that choose not to risk time and time again, I hope they lose because of it. I actually rather see a Dodgers three-peat than I would see a Tampa or Milwaukee win this year. Probably Milwaukee, I would say, because at least Tampa kind of went for it.
Yeah, because these teams operate with this whole idea, baseball's postseason is a crapshoot. Like, we get there enough, we're in there enough, 1 year it'll break our way. Make your own luck for once.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Couldn't say it any better myself. So moving on to one of the bigger deadline deals. Adley Rutschman gets dealt today from the Baltimore Orioles to the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox midseason resurgence continues, and it's with an electrifying ad in terms of upside. Wrist issues this year once again with Adley. Very talented, one of the better catchers in baseball when healthy. That's been the issue for him, Mike. They also make other trades. Marcelo Mayer goes out to the San Francisco Giants. They get back a reliever in that trade deal. Obviously, the Curtis Mee situation, he ends up, I think, breaking or fracturing his wrist. So he's out for quite some time. I mean, this is a huge one in divisional trade. Orioles are sellers. Taylor Ward also left as well. I mean, this is great for Boston.
Yep.
If I'm them and the way I've been operating from a payroll standpoint, I don't give a shit about my prospects. I got to go in and get a star that's locked up for a little bit. The upside here is tremendous. They do have a really talented squad. The way they've been able to salvage things in season, I mean, they could be getting another huge boost here with Adley Rutschman. For the Orioles, the way this has ended is so poor for them. They do get a good prospect haul in return. However, Mike, you got to say the Red Sox are the winners here as long as Rutschman is healthy.
He is here, and they paid a lot. We saw here they gave up, I think, the best prospect of the deadline to move, apart from the Dodger guys, was their number 2 prospect move. They get their 2, 4, 5 prospects and catcher Carlos Narvaez, who is going to be the new star in Baltimore for now here. Like, first of all, it's hilarious. The Yankees fans are trying to tell us that Will Warren and friends are going to get them both Adley Rutschman and Taylor Ward, considering that the Orioles got 8 players for them, including some much higher rated prospects than the Yankees had. That's thing one. And if you're Boston, you have to pay a division tax here, but like, you don't have the money on your books long term, really. I think you dump Marcelo Mayer, who is, somebody who's gonna have to be paid eventually. Like, you can extend Adley Rutschman and have him as your catcher for the next decade. Like, I think he's a guy you get him out of the dysfunctional mess the Orioles become. I think he's become very good again.
I agree. And you know what? That's a popular thing that they've been doing, is just extending guys before they hit free agency because they don't like to be big players in there. It's for Ranger Suarez, I guess. But I think this is just highlighting the beginning of the end of this Baltimore Orioles core. Is very promising for quite some time with all the prospects coming in. And Mike, prior to this Adley Rutschman deal, there were rumors that Kowser and Holiday were all rumored to be on the market alongside Adley Rutschman, which screams that they're blowing this up. And I just go back and think to myself, how could Pete Alonso not stop this?
He's the ultimate leader and winner.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it, man. It's just incredible that a leader like Pete Alonso is also a part of the biggest selling team at the deadline that wears orange. Oh my God. Wow. It's almost as if none of it mattered.
It's amazing, I may add, that every team that picked up one of the Met core guys, I'm talking about the offensive guys, not the Dodgers, like Pitt, whether it was the A's, whether it was Texas or Baltimore, they all ended up selling. I wonder, strange coincidence that is.
I digress, sir. So Red Sox getting Adley Rutschman, huge move for the deadline. Maybe not be the biggest this year, but years to come.
Yes.
This was another big interdivisional trade here. The San Diego Padres and AJ Preller. If there's a guy who has cojones, Mike, it's AJ Preller. He goes in for Robbie Ray. This was the most valuable player that the San Francisco Giants had at this deadline relative to remaining salary, want, positional need. Chapman, and we know Luis Ariz went to Philadelphia as well. Robbie Ray to the Padres is just a great move. Straight up. Pitching go ahead.
Yeah, I also don't know if you saw under the gun while we were on here, news broke out that they also got Casey Mize and the Tigers. So they had 2 big stars at the deadline, Preller. So he's all wheeling and dealing, trying to get that wild card spot in the National League.
I mean, all I got to say is I wouldn't be surprised when AJ Preller stops being in front of the baseball front office that he is going to be sponsored by FanDuel one day. By the way, this guy gambles. He is all over the place, all the time. Listen, Michael King can't guarantee his health. They really needed bats. Their offense sucks. They trade away a ride. I guess we could get into it in a moment, and we'll just segue it towards the last segment. But Robbie Ray to the Padres, to you, this makes them a tougher outcome October, but this doesn't make them any more favorites than they weren't before. I mean, like, my point being, the Padres got better with pitching, but how much better did they get overall? I'm not fully convinced.
I'm not convinced either because I mean, like, yes, you got starting and they did have issues pitching wise. I mean, there was a point that we heard Joel Sherman said they were poking around on Kodai Senga, which tells you how desperate they were. But I think they did better than Kodai Senga with these deals, so that helps there. But there's still a lot going on. If Manny Machado is not hitting, if Xander Bogaerts is not hitting, if Fernando Tatis has no power, like, I don't care how bad the National League is. You're basically asking for a wild card exit the way that roster is constructed. So, like, I admire the balls on AJ Preller to keep going in every single year, even when he probably shouldn't. But at some point, the bills will come due on this.
Their lineup is terrible, and they got rid of one of the best contact hitters of the past 15 years. It's not to say like Arise is on the Giants, but point being, they didn't add a bat. That's my point. There's nobody here that's salvaging the season. Why buy? And why pay a divisional tax? I know he's got control, right? How much does he have left on his contract?
Who
Robbie Ray?
No, he's a free agent after this year. He's a rental.
So they're perplexing, honestly. Like, San Diego is just bizarre. Like, I don't even agree with the Mason Miller deal last year. What was that for, really? Like, I understand there's the ownership issue, but new ownership is coming in. I don't know what the commitment is. But you got Tyrone Taylor outslugging Fernando Tatis, and you're not making a move that really supplants it or says we could take down LA.
Yeah, they're behind Arizona too in the National League West. So, like, it's not like Arizona picked up Lars Nootbaar. So, like, Arizona added too. So, like, it's not like they're a lock to get to a wild card either.
A lot of other wild card teams added too, right? Like, I mean, the Central is going to be tough towards the top, but like say it's even whatever Brewers, Cubs, Pirates, they added. They're trying to get better.
Phillies added,
and the other team, and then the other teams as well in the NL East. Just completely bizarre situation for that. So that takes us on to our winners and losers from the trade deadline. Doesn't matter if you have a list of 3 or 4 or 5. Tell me your biggest winners to start, and then we'll go to losers. So who are some of your biggest winners of this trade deadline?
I would say, obviously, the Dodgers. I think you have to say you get Tarek Skubal. Doesn't matter what else you do, you're winning the deadline. That's number one from them. I'll say the Cubs number 2. I think, like, getting Clay Holmes in there, and they have made a couple other moves for pitching. I think they're in a good spot there to improve their roster. And Tampa, not only getting Freddie Peralta in there to help with the rotation, but Liam Hicks from Miami filling a hole they had a catcher, I think is a big spot for Tampa. So those are my 3 big winners right now.
I like Boston and going in for Adley Rutschman. It's such a big deal for them. Comes back healthy. If he can get Roman Anthony, who the hell knows with that situation. But I just think the vibes in Boston are huge. I would like to also point towards the direction of the Philadelphia Phillies. Unfortunately, it pains me to actually say it. I'll say this real quick. Yeah. If they're actually putting Bryce Harper back in the outfield, it's the dumbest fucking move. It's the dumbest fucking move of this. I still actually don't even believe that tweet that you sent to me. I was waking up them so stupid to put Bryce Harper out there.
Correct.
It's stupid. They're forfeiting defense. This is a David Dombrowski thing, but I'm just saying, talent on paper, I think they got better. I just don't think he'll be healthy enough in the outfield. Dodgers, obviously, I love what the Rays did. Not a big fan of what Miami was doing, but I understood why. I really love the Cubs deadline. I think Clay Holmes is such a huge piece to what they fit, as I mentioned earlier in the episode here, that his ground ball pitching met with a fantastic defense is going to be huge for them. As long as he keeps the home runs down, he can go a little bit deeper into games. The Cubs win out big here. As far as losers go, this is a tough one. I will say number one for me, though, and it's not just because of what they got in this deadline. It's the fact that they did this at the deadline, but the Detroit Tigers are the biggest losers. If you go back and look at their asks for what they wanted with Tarek Skubal, and I have been screaming this from the mountaintops from episode 1 of this show, and even before that the return was never going to be good enough. And Mike, I didn't actually mean Manny Machado 2.0 in the sense that he would go to the Dodgers after a team that wears orange stupidly holds on to him for a lot longer than they needed to. But Jesus Christ, it ended up being exactly that. The Tigers are losers here because when months ago you're asking for the Jonah Tongs of the world and other top prospects and farm systems, and you settle for what is consensus one of the worst return packages for a superstar that you've seen. The Tigers are the biggest losers. I will also toss in the Yankees. And to be quite honest with you as well, the San Francisco Giants. Not being able to offload any of those players outside of Luis Ariz and Robbie Ray is a big L for them. They're going to be stuck with those players for quite some time. So that's where I land on the loser front. You got to get better returns. And sorry, one more. For me, Milwaukee, losers. Not a big enough name in addition at this deadline for them. I think that they needed to go in and make a bigger play for a certain play. Dustin May, will he or won't he? That's not really somebody, and I understand that's a franchise that can fix a guy, but that's not – why are we going for the risks? Again, you should be trading for a guarantee. The Milwaukee Brewers didn't do that. That's just why I have a hard time feeling bad for them when they get eliminated come October.
Yeah, I think they are definitely – I think those teams you all mentioned are definitely fair candidates. The Yankees, again, like – and before we sign off,
I know you were going to go back with
them. we have like Brian Cashin has said some interesting things while we were on the air, so we'll discuss that in a minute. Let's discuss
just go for it now. If they're your biggest losers, go for it.
They're not my biggest losers. I think they're in the category. Okay. I'd say them. Obviously, that you mentioned Detroit. I will throw out also Milwaukee. I agree with you on. How about Atlanta too? Leading the NL East, and the best they come up with is Tyra Mahle. And they have issues everywhere, and they look like they were limping down the stretch for a while. We've seen the Mets beat this team in series multiple times over the past month or so. So
not a good thing. Yeah.
It's like, if you're looking to play ball with the big boys here, I think you need to do a little more than Atlanta did. That's one. And I don't think Cincinnati sold off nearly enough of what they should have sold off at the deadline. Because, I mean, Tyler Stevens is still a Red. That should not have happened, considering how many teams needed catching.
Absolutely. The Reds really, too, in that division where it didn't, they're not going to make a run for it.
They're in last place.
Wild card, come on. I mean, the Cardinals were the guarantee here. The Reds were the surprise team last year. Now they end up doing this. Yeah, it's just, for me, right, contextually, we're sitting, even at last deadline, Detroit's ahead in the division. They want to make a trade here. How do you not trade a year of Tarek Skubal? How do you not do it? How are you this stupid? If I'm a Tigers fan, I'm infuriated because now it's not just that. The Framber Valdez contract is utter shit. It's so bad. Yep. If I feel for the Tigers, because there was something there that they could have simply spent the money, kept their guy, and opened a window for themselves in the worst division in baseball. But instead, they said, no, we're going to be stubborn and hold on to this pitcher for as long as we can to get the shittiest return possible. Not only that, open the risk for injury, which they did. By the way, he got hurt towards the end of last year. People forget, came back, was able to pitch in the playoffs. The Tigers are the biggest losers because they operate like losers. It's not just the return. It's just the mindset here from Detroit. My biggest loser. Do you want to get on to some of the comments?
Yeah, while we were on the air here talking here, David Stearns and Brian Cashin both met with the media here. So would you want to hear from first?
Let's go with the Yanks and Cash.
Okay, Yankees and Cash. Interesting commentary here about the I'll cite some people here. Brian Hoke on social media on X, some of his comments here. Yankees gave the Tigers about Tarek Skubal. Brian Cashman said, quote, they said a high price was something we were unable to get them off. And Hoke here says here, likely George Lombard Jr. Back to Cash, it was a very specific ask, a certain player we weren't wanting to play with in that arena. So basically, George Lombard is why Tarek Skubal is not a Yankee. That's one. Thing two, Brian Cash on Aaron Judge. We are still very optimistic he's going to return with his challenges, all that too. There's a very high likelihood he fits the time frame to come back and to join us. That's what I'm hoping and holding on to. So again, hopes and prayers for Aaron Judge. The catching comments are interesting here. I'll pull one from SNY here that was said here in terms of the catching. We do believe that we have quality catching, but obviously the offensive side has been a struggle for our team overall. May have certainly shopped an aisle. It's a market of opportunity. We had many conversations with Baltimore, but were unable to meet the price. So they did their business elsewhere. We kept grinding through it. At the end of the day, there was no opportunity that existed for us. We felt good about it to push through on. There were very limited opportunities in that marketplace. That's him on the catching. So, want anything on that before I go to the bullpen section?
Yeah, I want to talk about the Judge comments. That is not good. I don't think anything from those comments right there make me feel optimistic if I'm a Yankees fan.
No,
at all. That sounded terrible. It's we hope so. That I'm not saying that still confirms because he's never going to outright say, yeah, I don't think he's coming back healthy this year. If I'm reading between the lines here, Judge ain't coming back healthy. No way.
He's coming back compromised. That's the way I'm reading that.
Yep, I agree.
And in terms of the bullpen, the Yankees shot in that aisle pretty heavily, no avail. He pointed to Carlos Rodon and Clark should come back as a way of deepening our staff that way. So again, we're looking at we're throwing starters in the bullpen to fix the bullpen problem. Good job, guys.
I love it. They're like brand new additions, except I said it was going to be Bellinger, Judge. They're talking about it with Rodon and other. But listen, some guys in the minors do have some gas that they could come up, maybe make an impact out of it. I'm not really worried about the Yankees pitching. We'll go back a little.
We also forgot too. They sent Camilo Duvall out too. And got prospects back from the Pirates in this trade. So they subtracted 3 relievers who pitched them in the big leagues this year with Duvall, Jake Bird, and Giovanni Cruz, and they didn't add anybody.
Internal. Catcher's comments, by the way, too.
That's a bad look.
I don't know how. It's also like using Austin Wells as like some sort of meat shield here, where I think he's left out high and dry with like criticism that he's going to garner from this. Okay, defensively, but after a certain point when your hitting is so poor, it's going to drag you down in this town. There's just no way around it. And I feel for him. But it's just bullshit from Cashman. I think you could just hear it pouring out of his mouth when you hear each word. He wasn't able to do much. It sounds like Judge is incredibly unhealthy, and he's too gun shy to go for anybody at that catcher position that would really solidify it.
May I say something before we go to Stearns?
Obviously, of course. Go for it.
I'm amending my grade on the Yankees down to a D after hearing Brian Cashman talk, because that process they're talking about is so stupid. It makes you sit there and like the way they're talking and the stuff that they're now hedging their bets out. Like, we have challenges with Judge coming back. Like, that to me says you should have gone harder than you did. So that they're down with D for me.
It's a negative there for the Yankees. Part of me is just like they can make a run. Just don't crash out of the playoff contention. Basically what it is. They'll have that pitching there. Going over to the Mets season, David Stearns. I saw a glimpse of a quote, but I didn't really read anything. Go for it, sir.
Yeah, some stuff here I'm going from Max Goodman, who covers the Mets for NJ.com. On the trading of Luke Weaver and Huascar Brazaban, there's ultimately returns that we were able to get, we thought made sense, were in the best interest of the organization. He added, we understand we're going to have to go out and acquire relievers in the offseason. We're also excited for some of the members of our pen going forward. We're going to have a chance to contribute at the major league level. So sounds like they think they're going to fill some holes internally and go get some guys in the offseason. That sounds like thing one. He also said that Dave Stearns also said they tried to get controllable starting pitching. Like we saw the Blue Jays, they trade for Jose Soriano. The Mets tried to look at that. He says he just couldn't allow on acquisition cost, but it's something that we did explore. So those are the two big Stearns takeaways.
Yeah, we saw rumors of that with the starting pitching. Obviously, that's going to be a need with the whole. That's essentially right. Like, so we remove Senga and Clay Holmes from the Mets starting rotation next year. I think would be safe to say maybe a reunion with Holmes. Who knows? But I think we could both agree here that
you got 2 guys for sure next year, I think.
2. Then the Sean Manaea situation. Do you try and get out from underneath that with the final year on the deal? He's pitched well in the second half. It might just be something. And I
suspect he's here.
Correct, because of how he's pitching. We'll see how he does down this 2-month stretch. If it's a solid stretch, then he's for sure staying. Still don't agree on the Weaver comments. I just don't know how we could sit here. I'm not upset at the process of like we want to internally promote and then also sign guys in free agency. Why you trading to why you paying to trade away Luke Weaver when the return isn't good enough? When again, you acknowledge that you have big holes to fill in terms of that when he was clearly your best reliever. And the guy that you are returning in that bullpen that is getting paid a decent amount of money is Devin Williams, who has been, by all accounts, bad. So these are typical David Stearns comments. When you hear terms like acquisition costs, I definitely probably agree with him. There definitely wasn't somebody out there on the market that made sense for the Mets to acquire with controllable years. Maybe you could argue, Jose Soriano, blah, 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 this, that. Really, for the Mets, I think just rip the Band-Aid off, get into the offseason, reevaluate, making trades at the deadline to acquire guys for the long term, unless they were slam dunk deals, which I think is what he was kind of looking for and alluding to, would make more sense. This is not the case for the Mets.
I would assume somebody like Reed Detmer is probably try to get a deal with the Angels done, and the Angels got a huge price for Soriano. It's probably said even higher for Detmer. So probably why he didn't get moved.
They also hate us.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I have here. Mets and Yankees, both relatively underwhelming trade deadlines, but obviously two different directions. Winners and losers had been told. The Dodgers get Tariq Skubal going for a three-peat. Any other big major takeaways from this year's Major League Baseball trade deadline? I will say this real quick, Mike. This is what 3 wildcard teams get you. I think it gives you chaos at the deadline, especially when the years are a lot more open like it feels this one is. And maybe, just maybe, it could have been even greater if teams really went for it with what the CBA is at this moment. Because I think not knowing what it's going to be like would make more sense as to why you should risk it, because there's no guarantees in this sport. So I thought it was wildly entertaining towards the back end of the day, just not the biggest and sexiest names outside of the 3 that we kind of spoke about and some others. But what would you give this trade deadline as a final grade overall before we wrap up?
As a whole, I think it's an A- deadline. Like I think you did have the megastar moving Skubal. You know, a lot of deals on deadline day, basically from the morning until about like right before the clock, and right after 6 o'clock, some deals snuck through here. So you got a lot of activity here. Like not the biggest names outside of Tariq Skubal and Rutschman, but I do think you got a lot of names moving and deals happening.
We got a final comment actually here on David Stearns and Luis Robert real quick, if you want me to read this off.
Sure.
David Stearns on why the Mets held on to Luis Robert Jr. Quote, "It's the possibility of what he could do for us in the second half. The understanding that there's a club option of $20 million and the excitement of still having him here for the next 2 months of the season," end quote.
So that
I know what we were just talking about. So
that option's getting picked up 100%.
Yeah. A little bit cheaper this year. I believe it was 23 mil this year for him. So that's
it was 20 each of the last 2 years. So
it was 20. Okay, sorry, I'm
so they are definitely
for someone else.
Yes, they're definitely picking that up. That's 100% happening.
As long rolling the dice again, even knowing the back issues.
As long as like he is not broke at the end of the season, they're gonna pick that option up and just try this whole exercise again.
That is true. To the extent of there's all of August and September, but low pressure in New York, kind of hard to take away from that. But
they do need bodies into the season too.
Final thing to talk about New York, because you mentioned it and a big Mets fan. How was Spider-Man?
Very good. A lot of fun. And like theater was packed. Everybody was there this weekend. Like every theater, like you couldn't find tickets to this thing. People were very excited to go watch this movie here. I mean, it made almost $1 billion in one weekend, which is absurd.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
it's incredible. So out of all the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, where does this rank for you?
I think it might be the best one.
Really? Well, yes. The No Way Home was with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, correct?
Yeah, we went back to street level this movie, and I think, and there's something that Tom Holland apparently pushed for, because I was reading online. Apparently, the original version, this was like another multiversal thing with Garfield and Holland and Maguire back again. And
oh god,
Tom Holland said, "Hey guys, can we kind of go back to Peter Parker street level Spider-Man?" And they did that, and it paid off.
Maybe he was threatened by the other Spider-Mans, but objectively, it made more sense. I agree with you. It's sticking away from the multiverse stuff. Good for cinema. They had a really good month of July.
Yep.
So it was a really good thing to see there. Very happy about that. I saw Obsession crack the top 5 highest grossing horror movies of all time. The Odyssey still being sold out in most places. Still a phenomenal film. More to come. Any other interesting stuff that people can tune into, Mike, with your Just End Their Suffering and Sky Guys podcasts?
Yeah, for sure. Just on the Suffering podcast. Like, so we're getting ready for training camp here. So we're in August, it means football season. Working on a Giants camp preview episode here. It should be out like tomorrow when you guys are listening to this. So that should be out there. Sky Guys, going through our Star Wars next project bracket here. We did the first 4 this week. So our first 4 matches they played through is at the main bracket. That's over on the Sky Guys feed. Mets on SI. I graded all the Mets trades in the last 2 days. So you can check all that out over there. Some fan side writing as well. Make sure you check all that out.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. As always, hardworking, long day for you. Again, you guys can go and check out everything at Martino Puccio from myself. On this YouTube channel, you can go and check my other podcast, that Milan podcast. Italian Soccer League, Serie A, coming up in the next couple of weeks. Got a bit of word from some friends in the broadcasting industry that Telemundo is picking up the Serie A, which would be huge and interesting, and they're just swallowing up all the international leagues because they also got the rights to Bundesliga and the Premier League as well. Huge Spanish-speaking market, obviously, with that sport here. Was trying to ignore everything regarding the New York Jets as best as I could. We blinked and they're back. It's pretty scary. I don't like it. I don't really know what to think.
Geno Smith redux.
I mean, Geno Smith has been involved with the cops like more times than we had wins last year already, and just this offseason. I want it to end. Like I don't know when this is gonna stop. Like it's because we know we're in for Aaron Glenn firing prior to week 7. Really depends on how the Jets start. Really tough schedule to the year. I want these rookies and the players that they drafted to do well. I have no faith in this head coach. And that's really kind of where I'm standing at in this moment. I think Muji is respectable at this current moment in time as of today. I just hope that is somewhat of the Jets are due for something to happen good for them, right? Like I know that's like not how things work, but come on.
Hey, we just watched the Knicks win a title. Maybe this could happen in one of these years.
I think that too, but like I also remind myself on how much of a fucking miracle it was for Leon Rose. Like Leon Rose, people want to talk about what Jalen Brunson did. I'm sorry, what Leon Rose did was far more impressive. He is fighting a 3-front war. He's fighting the press for Knicks for clicks. He's fighting James Dolan and whatever hex was put on the Knicks for the past 25 years. Maybe it was Dolan. It clearly was.
Yeah.
But to pull that off, I mean, the Jets would need Darren Muji to, I don't know, make some tea for Woody Johnson. Then he just falls asleep in all the important meetings. So he doesn't get a part of any big decisions. It's just, I don't know. Will they get an interception this year? We'll see. But that's pretty much it. M Phillips 331 on all social media, at Martino Pucci everywhere else. Any final comments, Mike, before we finish?
No, I think we're pretty good here. So we'll just keep an eye on, what goes on here. The Yankees, can they get in? The Mets, we're going to have a bunch of new players here the next few days. We'll see how that goes.
And yes, we will maybe have a live tankathon stream in here. And we're looking for just to be clear, the Mets are not winning the fucking draft lottery.
No.
If the Mets win the draft lottery, what should I do if the Mets win the draft lottery? You pick my punishment.
Like, are kind of then win the lottery that they don't have their pick drop 10 slots. They're in the top 6.
No, I'm saying if the Mets win the lottery, what should I do then? Because I don't think it's going to happen. What has to be my
what counts as a win? Is the win that they're getting off their number 1, or that their pick doesn't drop?
I think I have an Ike Davis t-shirt jersey in my closet. If it fits me, I'll probably wear it. If not, I think I donated it to the general public. Probably should have. But yes, we'll see what ends up happening.
I think what your punishment should be is, I think, like, you have to live stream a Jets game like during the season.
Holy shit. I mean,
they're all Sunday 1 o'clock, so you could do it.
Honestly, I could digest it because I'll just be looking at college baseball player highlights or whatever top high school player is around at that point. But yes, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment your thoughts on today's podcast and episode, and we'll see you next week.